Hi guys, today we will see what is the difference between microkernel architecture and monolithic kernel architecture. I am Nadim, most viewed author on Quora. I got 800,000 views in just 2 months. Got upvotes from senior Microsoft employees. Now back to topic. Most of the CS students and programmers wants to know what is the difference between monolithic kernel and microkernel architecture. Let's see what is monolithic kernel first. Before we begin, we need to understand that kernel code of operating system runs in separate memory space and user programs are run in separate memory space. User programs cannot interfere in kernel memory space. If user programs wants to access resources like files, network services or any other hardware, then they need to request operating system kernel services. They can request these resources by using system call mechanism. When user program makes system calls, kernel code runs in kernel memory space. In monolithic kernel architecture, entire kernel code is placed in kernel memory space. This code includes device drivers, network code, file system code, and other critical components such as process scheduling, memory scheduling. The best example of monolithic kernel is Linux operating system. Monolithic kernels are very fast in operations. Now let's see what is microkernel. Microkernel has minimum code running in kernel space such as process scheduling, memory scheduling. But large amount of code is also placed in user memory space. Means some operating system code runs in user memory space. It doesn't mean that code running in user memory space can access operating system resources directly. They have to go through kernel. They use mechanism called as inter-process communication (IPC) to request access to resources. Minix operating system is the best example of microkernel. The same operating system which Linus was using when he got the idea of creating Linux operating system because he got frustrated due to lack of features in Minix. But what are the advantages of microkernel? Why running some operating system code in user space? If we run some of the kernel code in user space, if specific driver fails, it won't crash entire operating system because most of the device drivers comes from third party, so they are more error prone. Microkernel minimizes these risks. Microkernel has another advantage. If we want to restart particular service, we don't need to reboot entire system. Development and debugging is also easier and kernel will become more modular. Programmers always argue which one is better, microkernel or monolithic kernel. But nobody expected that even Linus Torvalds and Andrew Tenenbaum, the creator of Minix operating system, will have an argument. This happened in 1992 over the internet. Andrew favored microkernel architecture by saying it's modular, it's secure, it has more fault tolerance. He also said that microkernel is more scalable, IPC will not be a problem, hardware will be faster in near future. So IPC slowness is not a big issue. And then Linus replied. He said performance matters, especially when we are talking about operating system kernel. Performance is non-negotiable. It seems true. Assume that operating system is running on a server which is hosting a website which has thousands of users, then performance is surely non-negotiable. Linus continued by saying Minix was for teaching purpose, but Linux is battle-tested, pure production operating system. And because it's open source, contributors will make it more secure. They will create a review system where device drivers will go through a strict review which will prevent to fail, and kernel will be secure and safe. This online debate was historic, and programmers and computer science students got a chance to hear what Andrew Tenenbaum has to say, and also Linus Torvalds, the genius, has to say. Subscribe my channel. I will bring more information about Linux internals, garbage collectors, distributed systems, and many more. Thanks for watching.